Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from PopCross Studios. Well, he will be drawing an absolute Joko Kaiju and an absolute Batman mech. That's right. Welcome to the absolute Batman episode of PopCross. I guess that's one way of putting it. Anyway, let's hop in and see how he takes these brand new comic book designs and redoes them, or whatever you want to say. Let's just hop in.
This week I've been reading a bunch of Absolute Batman, which lots of people in my audience know has been helping to inspire my Alterverse Tales books that I'm currently working on, which you can learn more about if you get my design notes art.
I'll be honest, way back before I actually knew about Absolute Batman, my first experience with him was the meme of regular Joker seeing him and being like, holy shit, who the hell are you? Don't you recognize me, Joker? It's Batman. And you're not Batman, you're Bat Brick. That still makes me laugh. Especially the ending with, is that a fucking axe?
An advice book, because a full bonus video about that comes with the book. But anyway, I also wanted to make some kind of Absolute Batman related video. Now, I did get super inspired by the idea of making an Absolute Spider-Man video after I saw the brand new Day trailer that came out, but this week I was running pretty behind schedule, and I knew if I was going to get to an Absolute Spider-Man video eventually, I wouldn't want it to be in a week where I have to rush through it. So I thought, with the time I have left to work on my next video this week, what could I make that would be Absolute Batman related and would also be absolutely awesome? So I decided to go with a big splash piece of Absolute Joker as a Kaiju, which frankly he already looks a little bit like a Kaiju, facing off against a giant mech armor Jaeger style Absolute Batman. Of course, I'm also going to tell some lore and give some design notes for the art piece, and well, that's what I've got for you today. So let's get into it, shall we?
This must be in Hurricane Heath Reynolds' universe.
Yo, hit like
if you want. Subscribe if you feel like it. By the way, enjoy the show.
I like to think of myself as the toughest Kaiju slayer in my home world, but that title may actually belong to this guy who operates out in New Jersey, protecting a city more rampant with Kaiju attacks than most other places in the world. Doesn't really make sense why it gets attacked so much. Frankly, I don't get why more people haven't moved out of Gotham City because of it.
Okay, I guess that actually makes sense considering that Metropolis is meant to pretty much be New York. So, yeah, putting them in distance, I guess that does mean Gotham would probably be in New Jersey, if not just very close.
But at least they've got their fierce protector and his absolute beast of a Batmech. Although some people think he might be the problem. Like, Kaiju are drawn to that place specifically because he's there. Not sure I buy into that. I think it might actually have something to do with this facility called Arc M out in the Gotham Bay. Or maybe this sketchy company called JK Holdings that also operates out of Gotham and has done some dealings under the table with Anton Yardovin and his cronies. JK and Arc M might even be connected, but I don't know, I ain't exactly a detective, and I've got other things to worry about. I haven't looked too far into it, just heard my buddy Mia ranting about it like it's some big conspiracy. Anyway, the guy who operates this mech has been offered to join various Kaiju Slayer networks and groups in the past, but has refused every offer. Or
he likes to walk alone.
Just never responds to the offers. He ain't exactly an easy guy to track down. Nobody knows who he is. You'd think people could just follow his mech after he's done stomping a Kaiju's lights out, but he dives the thing into the Gotham Bay and just vanishes. People have tagged him with tracking devices, but they always end up getting fried, like he's got protection on his suit that nullifies him.
Of course,
obsessive fans and critics of his have analyzed footage of his mech, and from what they can tell, it was built from construction equipment and vehicles. People originally thought he was some billionaire who could commission some secret group to build him a mech, but one of the times his machine got real torn up.
Yeah, not in the Absolute Universe. The Absolute Universe is the only one for Batman is broke.
Soon after that, a scrapyard reported that a retired dump truck had been taken from their grounds. The thing was just going to be junked anyway, but the reason it was interesting was that the next time the Batmech stomped through the city to take out this gangly, frigid ice kaiju, it had some patched up bits.
Mr. Freeze.
That looked like they'd been taken off an old dump truck and repainted to fit the suit. That's got people thinking that this ain't some rich guy with a team of mech makers at all.
Not even close.
He's kept things so well under wraps that some people think he might even be working alone. That sounds like a bit of a stretch to me. I mean, building an insanely powerful mech like that all by yourself? I guess technically it'd be possible, but you'd have to be an
Oh yeah, of course it's possible, because Benny Shop.
Genius engineer and have access to some pretty intense construction equipment in order to put some of the bigger pieces together.
Benny.
Now, like I said, his home in Gotham has had more than its fair share of kaiju attacks, but this mysterious brawler and his tank of a Batmech have managed to take them all out. Well, almost all of them.
Of course.
He's big, he's fierce, and he's got this bat-shaped axe that seems like it can carve through even the toughest kaiju bones and armor. He's also got...
Oh, I don't think that axe could even come close to cutting Absolute Bane. And have y'all actually seen Absolute Bane? Like, holy shit, the dude is massive.
Got this cape that can help him dramatically decelerate if a kaiju tries to fly him up in the air and drop him. But weirder still, the cape has these sort of retractable tentacle claw things in it. He can basically use them like a bunch of extra limbs,
like Doc
and they're
Ock.
usually pretty
That's
good
cool.
for helping him stay at a distance from the kaiju he's fighting. Makes it harder for them to claw him up or take a bite out of him. He has taken his fair share of lumps. As big and burly as his mech is, some of the kaiju he's faced are even bigger, and a heck of a lot meaner. Thankfully, every time he gets his
That's
metal
what I'm talking
teeth
about,
kicked
Bane.
in, he always seems to come back better and more prepared. He's also not opposed to teaming up with a good kaiju when so necessary, but no matter how, he always ends up taking the win. Almost. So far, there's only one kaiju that he hasn't managed to beat. One that has popped up a few different places around the world, and is an even more infamous secret than this axe-wielding armored knight. They call it the Cackling Grim. And it seems like it's become pretty obsessed with Gotham after its first stalemate with the Bat. They say you'll only ever hear the Grim laughing once it's too late for you to do anything about it. Estimates from footage of its appearances put it at around 510 feet tall, and it's got teeth that'll rip through anything, as our noble Bat experienced for himself. Not long after the Bat had teamed up with this gnarly Croc kaiju to take down a beast that was, I kid you not...
Absolute Killer Croc. That's also one that's pretty much a freaking kaiju, considering how long the dude's mouth is. Like, holy shit.
900 feet tall, there was this weird series of tremors near the center of Gotham. Then this gas started spreading that made everyone in half a mile radius start laughing uncontrollably.
The Joker
toxin. It was a pretty safe bet that some kind of kaiju attack was coming, since weird stuff like that is usually the fault of a kaiju in my world, and our trusty Bat must have suspected the same. When he was just a few blocks away, the Grim leaps out of nowhere, cackling away, and on its first blow, it bites one of the Bat's shoulders clean off. The kaiju impaled its own face on the spikes that stick out of the Batmech's shoulders, which are there specifically to help him not get bit by kaiju, but the Grim didn't even seem to care. It was
just
like
didn't
it
care.
didn't feel any pain at all, or maybe even it enjoyed the pain. Thankfully, one arm is all you need to swing an axe, and the Batmech's cape tendrils were moving in full swing. But the Bat was on the back foot the whole battle. He hacked off a few fingers and toes, chopped off one of the Grim's horns, but nothing was really slowing it down. Worse still, the Grim was breathing waves of that same smoke that had got people cackling, and it seemed like it was messing with the mech's circuitry too. Some people who were close by and managed to survive say they heard a deep voice laughing from inside the mech, but I doubt anyone would really be able to make that out in all the chaos, even if the driver of that mech was being afflicted by the gas. Eventually, the Bat clearly realized he'd need to retreat if he was going to live to face this thing again. The Grim managed to tear off two of his cape claw things while the Bat got close enough to hack the kaiju's leg up. He managed to take off one of its feet, but his own mech was barely left limping after that. He retreated to the Gotham Bay, and the Grim managed to dig itself back into the hole in the ground it had sprung out of before other Slayers could show up. When they eventually did, other Slayers and authorities tracked down through the tunnels, but the tunnel just went down and opened up into a cave that led into the Gotham Bay too, so there was no trace of the Grim after that.
So both of them
That was
went
just the
missing.
first battle between these two, though. They've had more fights since, and no matter what new weapon the Bat brings to the table, he still can't seem to beat the Cackling Grim. Whoever this guy is, he's obviously resilient, determined, and brilliant, so I don't doubt he will trounce it someday, but hopefully that happens soon, because I know the people of Gotham will sleep a lot better when he finally stops that monstrosity from laughing for good.
Oh yeah.
Admittedly, I haven't actually gotten the part in Absolute Batman where he faces Absolute Joker, so I kind of had to spoil some stuff for myself a little bit, reading up on the wiki on, you know, what Absolute Joker's deal is in this series. But I do think it's funny that my Kaiju version is almost less monstrous looking than some of the versions that I've seen in the comics. Anyway, in my design notes, art, and advice book, I have a whole bunch of my best Kaiju drawings, and I wrote a bunch about the things that I've been slowly improving on, and of course giving tips on how to improve on doing stuff like this. And I wanted to apply a bunch of the lessons that I talked about and thought about while writing that book into this piece. And that most so is involving the environments, because, like I've said many times before, buildings used to be a big stumbling block for me.
I can see why.
Until I started using perspective tools like the 3-point perspective tool that I was using for this, which makes it just so much easier to do buildings. So some of the things that I added to this is I wanted to flesh out the actual city a little bit more, make it feel more like a real place and not just using it to compose the image and make the characters stand out. So for one thing, I did something that I think...
less of a framing tool, more of an environment.
I think I've only done one time before this, which is I actually added lines to the streets, and I added sidewalks, and I even ended up adding some little lampposts later into the drawing, just to flesh things out a little bit more. And I do think overall it still feels a little bit bare, like it could have been better if I added some destroyed cars in, maybe even some really tiny fleeing people. But again, I was in a little bit of a rush with this video, was running behind schedule, so I was like, I don't really have time for that. But I do think little things like the street lines and the lampposts really help. I also was referencing some other people's designs of Gotham City and was trying to add a few more variety kinds of buildings into this piece, looking at some more Gothic architecture, and I don't think I really do enough to differentiate it that much from my other drawings, my other Kaiju city fight pieces. But I think when you actually look...
that is actually one downside of, you know, Kaiju fights. If it's in the city, you can almost never tell which city without an immediate landmark. Could be over there, could be over here, could have been back there.
Get like one of the buildings that's a little bit more in the foreground and in front of Joker's knee later into the drawing. It's like, okay, yeah, that is a bit different from some of the buildings I've done before. I do think this drawing, well, I should say, most of the stuff I'm going to be talking about is stuff that I'd want to fix about this piece. Overall, I do think it looks really cool, but there's a bunch of things that I'm now looking at and going, okay, here's what I want to do better in the next piece that I do that's kind of like this. And for one, I think I could have done a bit better job with the perspective and composition in terms of us looking more up at these guys. They're both supposed to feel big and epic and massively scaled up, which, you know, in Absolute Batman himself is huge. He's, what, 6'7" or something and 300 pounds. He is a massive beast of a dude, and Absolute Joker is way bigger than that. So in this, I wanted to make them both feel...
well, technically, Absolute Monster Joker is taller than that. Absolute Joker in his human form is pretty average.
Big, but for Absolute Joker to feel even bigger, which I think definitely comes across. But they both could have felt even bigger if I had the camera a little bit lower to the street and looking up more, or maybe it feels like when the drawing is finished, in the lower left-ish kind of area, it feels a little bit too barren, so maybe even a toppled over building, or again, like cars or something, could have helped fill it out a little bit more. Or maybe even just more cracking to the ground, or having the ground kind of buckle open a little bit and seeing some sewage piping and stuff like I've done in another piece.
Oh, that could have been good.
In another piece that's in the Design Notes art book that is extremely similar composition-wise to this one. Because one thing I remember that video. I have to think about when doing a drawing like this is I both want the composition to be dynamic, but I also want to make sure we're getting a very good look at the designs of both of the creatures or characters, because these videos are often more so about character design than anything else, in terms of the art anyway. So it would open up a lot more composition options if I was okay with us looking at Batman's back, having him closer, cut off part of his body more, have him closer in the foreground, but then we're not getting a good look at a bunch more of his design. So that's another thing.
Right, if anything, that would be what you could do for a second piece. Like for a first piece like this one, and you want to show off what they both look like, at least from a semi-frontal view. But for a next piece, you could have it different. And you could have, like what you said, Batman's back to the camera, maybe only a quarter of him or a third is even visible, or anything like that.
Talk about the design notes art book, you have to think about what is the purpose of this art. And the purpose being character design means that gives me some slight more limitations in terms of the compositions I can pull off. There's definitely going to be other compositions that I try out in future videos, but that's why this is a very similar composition to what I've done before. The last thing is, I feel like the movement feels a little bit stilted. Like, Joker kind of feels like he's moving and coming towards Batman, but I feel like I could have emphasized that a little bit more, or emphasized Batman's movements more, maybe even just with some extra movement lines or speed lines, anime-inspired kind of stuff. I think
definitely
the
would have been
saliva
good.
kind of flying back in Joker's mouth a bit also helps imply that he's moving.
Yeah, a little bit of spit like on the tongue trailing behind would help with the illusion of it. Maybe even some minor speed lines here around the bottom of the hand, like he's just finished lifting it and is about to swing it around. Hell, you could have even actually had and maybe some like debris around the tail and have that coming off as well to help also with the illusion of movement. Yes, it would be similar to the spit coming off the tongue, but you know, it'd be a different color. Well, considering this is Gotham, it would just be gray, so, you know. Oh, wait, no, if for a different color, you definitely could have used either some red for blood or green for blood, considering what the hell the Joker's blood actually is, and have that just coming off like small wounds on like the hands or even a leg or something. Because you did say in the story, in the first fight, he did get off a couple fingers and toes, and a piece of a horn. So, you know, could have been something though, could have been, but
I think it's more so Batman he looks a little bit more like he's doing a battle cry than he is about to take a swing at Joker. Also, just having them actually interact a little bit more with the buildings might have been cool, like if Joker's knee was coming through the building near him and actually actively destroying something, that could have added...
Oh, no. For that, though, you definitely could have had Batman, like, maybe holding a piece of a building. Oh, but that would again go with the second piece, since the piece of building he would be holding would actually kind of be blocking him, because he'd be using it like a shield to try and weaken the Joker's blow. Damn. That's a good second piece idea.
A little bit more movement and dynamism to the piece. Again, overall, I think this looks really sick, and I'm happy that I ended up doing this for today's video, and only doing the one drawing meant that I could take more time with it, even in a week where I had a little bit less time to work on this. By the way, I didn't feel the need to pause this video to do a separate design notes, art, and advice book ad, since I'm actually doing design notes in this, but if you like the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here, or if you just like my art in general, especially my Kaiju art, you might want to grab a copy of the design notes, art, and advice book. It's got advice for art, for writing, general mindset, building audience, and lots of behind-the-scenes stuff on my Multiverse Tales series, and, like I said, there's a bonus video in there about my currently in-production Alterverse Tales books, inspired by Absolute Batman and Absolute DC in general. It's up on Amazon and will hopefully be up on Blurb soon. There's been another hiccup there, but it is on Amazon now.
I wonder what it was.
In the description. But anyway, even while keeping in mind the improvements that I'll want to make for future Kaiju drawings similar to this, I'm super happy with this, and I hope you all like the result of it as well. Let's take a look at the full thing.
It's very nice. I like how bright and red you made the Joker's lips, considering the classic iconic grin and all. A great piece.
If you enjoyed this and you want a real throwback, you might want to go back to my old Justice League characters as Transformers episodes. That was
that's
like
cool.
5 years ago, so my art's a lot better now, but some of those designs still kind of hold up. Anyway, besides that, that's all for today, except of course...
Why don't you actually like reboot that video? Since your art's so much better now, you could actually go back and redesign them. Hell, just remake the whole video, who knows?
Ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note, and the thought I want to leave people with today is a quote I heard this week from Katie Clark, who's currently my favorite YouTuber to listen to while I'm working on stuff, and if you like my positive, inspiring notes, you might like her videos. And she said very simply, if you can't find the sunshine, become the sunshine.
Ooh,
if you
I
can't
like that.
find the sunshine, become the sunshine. It's
I
nice
like
and
that.
simple. That one really resonates with me. And I hope it hits someone else the same.
That is actually a really good line. Alright, well, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.